Welcome to the Art Lady channel. Today we are going to be looking at the artist Wayne Thiebaud, and we're going to be inspired by his ice cream cones. He used the geometric forms of cones in his artwork to create some amazing, delicious pictures. And that's our inspiration for the art today. You're going to also learn how to make a cone yourself, and then we're going to fill it with all kinds of our favorite ice creams and toppings. So we're going to be using our imagination. You want to hold your paper, and not all of it's showing in the picture plane here, but you want to hold your paper vertically in front of you. And you can fold it lightly in half, or you can just estimate the halfway mark and just make a dot here or a little line in the halfway mark. So in the center of the page, we want to make, and if you look at this ice cream cone, we want to make the opening of the ice cream cone. And it's going to be the oval shape. So we're going to start with an oval. You want to make this side of the oval, which is part of the cone, similar to this side of the oval, as similar as you can. And notice, look, here's the edge of the page, so it's right in the middle. This is approximately 1/3 of the width of your page. So I have 1 space, 2 spaces, 3 spaces. This takes up a little bit more than 1/3 of it. Even if you take your fingers, look at, if you open up your fingers in the very center, kind of like make a V where the tips are, that's how wide, look at that. That's how wide you want your cone to be. So I'm gonna just remove my picture, find the middle, open up my fingers really wide, as wide as I can, and then just put a little mark, one on each side, right here and here. Actually, I'll put it right in the middle of each fingernail. That way I know it's pretty wide. So this is where, I'm gonna erase these little lines in here. So that's where I'm gonna put, that's how wide my cone's gonna be now. Let me make it a little bit darker so you can see better. Here's the very middle of my cone. You take your fingers, look what I've done. From the center, I've taken my fingers, the 2 index finger and the middle finger, opened them up really wide. If you put them at the edge of the V, now just drop down. So these fingers line up to the middle line, right on your fold, and where it meets the fold, the tip of your fingernail meets the fold, put a dot and a dot. Then you move your fingers out of the way. Now, what you're gonna do is you're gonna make an oval. So I do like the letter C here. Now the letter C has to touch this dot, so I come up and over, down and over, and then I do a backwards letter C here. So I'm making a elongated oval right here. This is the opening of the ice cream cone. I don't need this one in the middle here. Now I'm going to make my cone. So I'm going to simply just find the middle, drop all the way down to the bottom of my page. I'm going to come up a finger space because I don't want my cone touching the very edge of my page. And then I'm going to simply take this edge, and if you do it first, see how I'm sliding my fingers? Do it really lightly. Slide your hand down. Just let the pencil glide and slide straight. And just slide down, and just do it one time. Or do it very lightly first. Then you're going to do the same on the other side. Okay? And then I'm just going to make a point here at the end, because I want my cone pointy. That's the best part of it, especially when you fill this with chocolate fudge. So now you have the cone right here. And that's our cone that is in 3-dimensional form. It's in the round. And if you do the ice cream designs, the waffle pattern on your cone, right here, I'm gonna do some diagonal curves, and then I curve diagonally the other way. So let's just get those in. So if you wanna just start, you can either start at the top, start at the bottom. I'm just gonna start a little bit jumping down from the top. I'm curving round, coming down and around, because this is rounded, the cone. The cone is actually made flat, and the pattern is put in flat, but then it's formed into a cone shape. I'm gonna trace over the Sharpie so you can see it a little bit better with the Sharpie. So I'm gonna trace my cone shape. If you wanna just continue with your pencil, that way everybody can see this a little bit better. And so these lines are a diagonal with slight curves. So I'm kind of curving around. Now, I'm trying to keep them equal distance apart, but you don't want them really, really, really close together. Otherwise, you're going to be just making too many of them. They're not exactly mine, but that's okay, as long as they're similar. Just going to erase this little area in here. Now we're going to go opposite direction to make these kind of diamond patterns. And so what I do, if you hold it sideways, it's kind of easier. I'm just going to come down, down and across. So I start with one top and I cross right through. Okay, so now you have your diamond. Now notice I didn't do this part with the Sharpie because my ice cream is going to be in here. So I didn't want the Sharpie line to cut through on one of my ice cream flavors here. So I didn't trace the Sharpie on this side. Now we're going to add a freeform shape to make ice cream. And while you're working on the cone, the rest of us, if we're done the cone, we can look at how these are freeform shapes. And freeform shapes are shapes that are not geometric. You can't name them. These are just, I call them kind of blobs, just a blob. It's a freeform shape where it's a line that just kind of meanders around and connects to another spot on the line. And that forms your freeform shape. So we're going to do blobs of ice cream. Think about when you scoop out ice cream and what it actually really looks like in your mind and how it's this shape. Think about when you get it from the ice cream store. When you go and get an ice cream, they're placed neatly on top of each other. And they kind of have to push those circles down, those spears of ice cream from the ice cream scoop, and that's where it gets kind of like this dip in the middle. If they don't push it down, of course, they'll just fall right off. The cone, I've had some ice cream cones that have actually done that, where my ice cream just fell right out. So let's start with the blob then. Let's decide how high up you want your first blob. So a little bit past this line here, we're just going to come up and put a little line in. I'm going to switch out my Sharpie because I'm losing color. And see how I made it kind of a dip, and then I'm going to come around and come down in the cone. Almost circular, but with some bumps. So that's going to be my first flavor. When I pick different flavors, I put my favorite one at the bottom. Then we're going to do another flavor. So I'm coming off of this flavor on the curve edge, up and out, and then I'm going to give it a little dip, up and out with a dip. There is no right or wrong for this because it's just a blob of ice cream. So if yours has a little bit of a wave to it here, or a little bit of a dip in here, that's fine. There's no right or wrong. And the last one I'm going to do, I'm going to come up again, and I'll have it more of a dip on one side. There. But you make it the way you want it, because you know it's never perfect. Ice cream scoops are not geometric. They're just this non-perfect blob of ice cream. Now, if you want to put a cherry on top, you can. Some people don't even like cherries on their sundae. This just makes it fancier. This makes our picture a little bit more aesthetically pleasing too. So I am going to make a circular cherry right here. And then I'm going to just do a curving stem. I'll make it a little bit thicker here to add color. And on the cherry, you can stick a little highlight, which is like a diamond shape. And on the ice cream, if you want to give little lines to show its texture, you can as well. Because sometimes there's different areas that stick out. Put a few little lines in like so. And now you're going to trace over this with some markers. You can either color it in with markers. I'm erasing some of my lines. Or you can color it in with some watercolor paints. That's up to you how you want to color it in. I just used some very light, or even crayon would look pretty, but I just used some very light watercolor washes. And a watercolor wash is where you add more water to the color to make it a wash. Another thing that you can do, if you take your markers, and we're using water-soluble markers, so if you take your markers like this, if you're at home, this works great. And I'm tracing my lines with the marker. And my kids in here are going to use basically whatever they want. If they want to color it with crayon, they can. If they want to use markers, they can. In my room, they'll just help themselves to a box of it. Now, I'm going to show you, if you're at home, you can do this, which is kind of fun. If you just trace with marker, then you add a little bit of paint. A little bit of water. Now, these are water-soluble markers, so this is what will happen. When you put this water on it, it will melt the marker a little bit, but it will create some dark and light effects. Where you drew the marker makes it darker, and where you put the water, it makes a light wash of color. So it's really a neat, beautiful effect. So you could fill in your ice cream cone like this if you'd like. But any way you want, if you want to use markers, crayons, even if you're in my class today, you could use the markers like this. And if you don't have time, you can always add the water when you get home. And I'll show you how I'm going to do the actual ice cream like this. I'm not going to color my whole ice cream cone or ice cream. Say if I want strawberry right here, I'm going to go ahead and just add the marker and not get every spot. Then you just take your water, and this is how you do a wash of color. So with a set of markers, you've got yourself some paint as well. So I'm going to have you finish this on your own now, and then I will show you what this looks like when I'm done. And here's my cone that's finished, and I did the top one as peanut butter fudge. I did some peanut butter, or I did some like light tannish brownish ice cream for the peanut butter ice cream, and then I did little black with brown markings on top for the fudge. And then this, of course, is mint chip, and then this is the strawberry or whatever light pink flavor you want to have it, bubblegum or whatever you want to call it, but it's a lighter version of the ice cream. And I did the different colors so that it would be aesthetically pleasing. So it would have a variety of bright, bright colors here. If I would actually have this real ice cream, I wouldn't pick mint chip with peanut butter fudge and strawberry. I wouldn't think that those flavors would mix together and taste good. But as artists, you have the power to make things look good. So that's called aesthetics. And so I chose to have the variety of colors just so that it would be more aesthetically pleasing, good looking to the eye. Gives a variety of color. And then I did put a little bit of blue wash of paint down at the bottom here. And so there we have it. And I'm going to show you what my kids in class did today.